Hello and welcome to episode 135 of Glitch Report. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for stopping by, saying hi, kicking it with me today on the stream. The stream of dreams, the show of shows, and everything in between. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree, linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. You can find my Instagram, my Threads, my TikTok, my YouTube, and all of those things in one convenient location. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to talk about video games. I don't know how else to say it, but I think that's going to be the plan for today. We have a decent amount of news, maybe a little slow when it comes to news. I got a couple things here and there, and then the last news story, I really scraped the bottom of the gaming news barrel to get to that final news story. So stick around for some really not important news that I felt like discussing on the show today, but we're not going to do that until later. Man, oh man, what a week it has been. If you missed out on Friday's live stream, I have completed my experience playing through Fallout New Vegas. That is up now over on my YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Episode 12 was the final episode. I thought about going back and playing some DLC, but I think I'm going to just leave Fallout New Vegas where I left it. I'm going to move on. And, I love the Fallout games. I will, with the exception maybe of 1 and 2. And maybe with the exception of Fallout New Vegas after my time playing through it over on the streams and on YouTube and stuff like that. But that necessarily doesn't necessarily stop me from wanting to go back and play other Fallout games. There was a moment last night where I was like, man, I should go play some Fallout 76. What if this game was online? And I ignored all the online aspects and I just treated it like a single player game. But so it wouldn't take much for me to go back to the world of Fallout, whether that maybe be Fallout 3, see if it is aged any better than Fallout New Vegas, or go back and play 4. I do like playing 4 with a lot of mods and things like that. I definitely enjoy, weapons mods and things like that in Fallout 4. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. And I wouldn't be opposed to loading up my character in Fallout 76 and seeing what the online updates have done to that game. I don't know if you can play as a ghoul yet in that game or not. I know they were adding that at some point. I don't know if you can play as a ghoul yet. That might be something that would be fun. But I wanted to announce just here at the top of the show that we're going to continue to stream video games on Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/GnittWitt. And what we're going to do is we're going to play an entirely different game. We're going to play something that is unlike Fallout New Vegas. It is a game that I've spent a little bit of time with, a game that I am somewhat familiar with, but a game that, big picture wise, larger narrative wise, I really don't know much about. I can take some guesses, I can make some assumptions and things like that, but I'm going to announce it up at the top right here. The next game we're going to play is Dredge. We are going to take to the high seas for some horror themed fishing. So you can check out that series, Dredge of Tomorrow, which is going to be happening over at twitch.tv/GnittWitt, Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then, of course, those episodes will be up on my YouTube channel as well. Housekeeping out of the way, the announcements, things like that is cool. We got those out of the way. Let's talk about some video game news. We have been talking about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 for some time. One of the things that has come out in light of the announcement of the game and the full reveal and the leaks and all that stuff is a change that is happening to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, specifically when it comes to the kind of remastering of 3 and 4. Last week we talked about how one of the differences between Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 was that 3 had the classic 2-minute levels in the career mode, so you were challenged to complete as many goals and objectives as you can in that 2-minute run, and then whatever you didn't finish you could do in the next run, and so on and so forth. Whereas with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, with the levels being a little bit larger, they instead had people in the environment that were going to give you those missions and challenges that you could take on as you see fit. Something that is changing with this remaster. So the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 career mode is being replaced with that time-based challenge mode that you see in Tony Hawk's 3. Iron Galaxy doing the work for this. They did the PC version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2. And that is, I find it to be fairly disappointing. I guess I would say up at the top that I find this change to be incredibly disappointing, because I feel like the career modes are what you come to that game for. And with the career mode in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, you could just explore the level and play through the level as you wanted to, without necessarily needing to load into the separate free skate mode. So when it comes to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games, there's typically the 2-minute challenge for the career mode. There's typically a 2-minute like score attack mode. So ignore all of the goals and challenges, but just try to get a high score. Then there's also the multiplayer, and then there's also the free skate mode, which is free skate is just unlimited time to just explore the level, play through the level as you see fit. But with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, you didn't necessarily need that free skate mode, because you could ignore the goals and objectives and challenges, because those started the timers once you activated them, and you could just explore as you see fit. I really enjoyed just, exploring the levels on my own, and then taking on challenges every now and then in those later Tony Hawk games like 4, and especially with Tony Hawk's Underground. It's really hard for me to kind of put a thumb to the scale in terms of how this is disappointing, beyond the fact that they're simply changing it, or it feels like they're changing it for the sake of changing it. But I have some ideas as to why they are doing this. I suspect that one of the reasons for this is because that would require additional development work that they had not done with 1, 2, or 3. Because in 4, you had people like characters, unique character models, and people, and voice acting, and dialogue, and animations. They were like minor cutscenes in the grand scheme of things, I guess, if you want to even call them cutscenes, of people being like, hey man, I wonder if you could collect all of the dirty socks in this environment in the next 45 seconds. And it's like a little cutout of the level where the dirty socks are flying around in the street, and then you chase after them with your skateboard and things like that. Excuse me. So to me, and even Kotaku kind of mentioned this in their news story that I'm kind of referring to, is that this feels more like a remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 with the levels from 4 in it. Now, Tony Hawk's 3 is a great game. I have said it before, I will say it again, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 might be the best Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game. I know some people maybe more strongly believe in 2 than 3, but 3 has the reverts and all of that stuff. The level design is the level design in 3 might be the best in all of the games. Again, I'd have to kind of play them side by side to give you a critical consensus on them, but this no longer feels like I am getting Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. I'll just say that up at the top. This no longer feels like I am getting the version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 that I want. In a perfect world, 6 months from now, they put in that career mode as an update. Wouldn't that be nice? But I think, unfortunately, for a lot of people, the damage is already done, and maybe now people are going to be leaning into playing it on Game Pass. If they have an Xbox or a PC, instead of buying it, because they don't feel like they're getting the full value of the game that they originally imagined it would be. Now, you could argue that expectations versus reality is a very funny thing. I mean, go watch the movie 500 Days of Summer. and then we'll talk. But still, if I pull up the price for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, there's almost no price you can pay for the version of the game that you thought you were getting versus what you're getting now. I mean, that game is about $70, and while that's not as much money as, say, Avowed, which is $90, or Horizon 5, which is coming out on PS5, that's $80 Canadian, of course. I just wish I was getting the version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 that I want. So if I sound defeated, if I sound really bummed out, it's because I am. Is it the end of the world? Not necessarily, because I will still get to play the best version of 3 that I possibly can, in my opinion. And I mean, it doesn't remove the ability for me to go and play 4 on my own if I wanted to. But like, even Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 on the PS1 had those larger levels with the characters giving you missions and stuff in the environment. So it is an incredible shame, and I hope that they can course correct in some way, shape, or form, even if that means an update coming out 6 months later that have all that stuff in it. I don't know. So I know in the PS1 version of the game, that the game being Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, I don't believe you actually went up to characters in the environment. I believe there were like little like objects and trinkets and stuff in the environment that you'd go up to and activate it. And so they were able to cut down on voice acting. They were to cut down on animations and characters and stuff like that. Whereas with 4, it's just like, I'm going to go talk to the homeless man. I'm going to go talk to the security cop. I'm going to go talk to the college student. I'm going to go talk to the angry mom or whatever, right? So even if they did the like, oh, we put like a little circle with a question mark or an exclamation mark in the environment, you go up and you activate that. That would be better than what we're getting now, which is, it's a shame. But what are you going to do? That game comes out on July 11th. Let's move on. Speaking of Forza, if you want to play Forza on the PlayStation 5, I got good news for you. It's coming out. You can do that. The catch is that with that game being something of an online game, I mean, you can play it single player, not connected to servers if you want to. But even when you play it online, you can ignore all the players in the environment until the cows come home if you want. But long story short, when Forza Horizon 5 arrives on PlayStation, it will require a Microsoft account to play the game. There was a newly published fact that confirms the game will mark the debut of the series on PlayStation platforms and will require players to have both a PSN account and a Microsoft account on PS5. Players will be prompted to do this when they start the game on their console. There will be no way around this, as the game is only being released digitally, meaning there is no way to play it on PlayStation without going through the step. Now, in fairness, if they put this game out on disc, you could say the same thing anyways. So, there are plenty of games that require, Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones, if you go buy it on disc, requires you to have a Ubisoft account. So this is not necessarily anything new or unique. Now, there's a Twitter account called called Does It Play? It's a Twitter account called Does It Play that says that this has implications for the preservation of the game, as now not only does it rely on PSN being active indefinitely to verify the ownership of the game. Remember when PSN went down and they couldn't verify any of your digital purchases? That fucking sucked. It also requires Microsoft to maintain its account system. This also allows both parties to revoke or end service on the game without any physical recourse. Do I think that is going to happen anytime soon? Probably not, but it is something for you to consider. I mean, I technically can no longer buy Forza Horizon 4 because they pulled that game from sale. I'd have to go buy an Xbox, buy a disc version of the game, and then play it. And in the case of the PC, I mean, my PC is all digital. It's all ego, baby. and in the case of this game, I mean, it's all digital as well. So yes, there are potential reasons to scream, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. I don't think we're there quite yet. I also think that's a great game. Like, I still encourage people to buy and play Forza Horizon 5 on PS5 if they get the chance. It's an incredible game, and I don't think that you'll be losing access to it anytime soon. And I think creating a Microsoft account is a small price to pay to play it at all. With the PS5 port, you're also getting free content updates for Forza Horizon 5 called Horizon Realms, which is coming to all platforms. The Realms update will give players a chance to explore a curated collection of some of the community's favorite previously released evolving worlds, alongside some other surprises. It's a great game, and I'm not going to let this, stop me from recommending it to PlayStation users. But if you don't want to pay $80 Canadian for a new-ish, not really new, kind of new game coming to PS5, then obviously wait for it to go on sale. I would not be surprised if Forza Horizon is, $50, maybe 40 by the time Black Friday or Boxing Day rolls around and things like that. So, hey, keep your eyes peeled for Forza, because it's coming to PlayStation. What's the date for that again? I closed this before I could get the date. When is the date? April 29th. That's soon. April 29th. That's soon. That is sooner than you think. Quicker than a hiccup. Let's talk about Robocop. Who doesn't love Robocop? Now, I played some of that Robocop game that came out, Robocop Rogue City, and I thought it was okay. It wasn't like the worst thing I ever played, but it was all right. I think I maybe didn't like it as much as some other people. Video Games Chronicles, as always, shout out to Video Games Chronicles, giving Robocop Rogue City a 4 out of 5. I think that might be a little on the strong side, but who am I to argue with that? But it doesn't matter, because Robocop Rogue City was a hit. Robocop Rogue City was a success. And now we are getting a sequel, Robocop Rogue City Unfinished Business, which will see Robocop climbing a large enemy-filled tower block. If you have ever seen the movie The Raid, or if you've ever seen the movie Dread, first of all, please watch those movies. But regardless, the premise of both of those movies is there's this police force kind of climbing this, kind of going through this huge multiplex, like, apartment building, sweeping it for enemies and drug dealers and gangsters and all that stuff. And they're both phenomenal films. They're both incredibly similar films. And that seems to be kind of the premise for Robocop Rogue City Unfinished Business. Unfinished Business is set in Omni Tower, a large housing complex created by OCP to provide for the needs of the residents of Old Detroit. But when a group of highly trained mercenaries armed with cutting-edge weapons takes control of the building and turns it into their deadly fortress, Robocop must take action to put a stop to their plans to undermine law and order. Now, according to publisher Nacon, players will have to deal with numerous new high-tech threats in Omni Tower, from flying drones to exploding bots and anti-personnel turrets. Every floor is riddled with deadly traps and heavily armed elite troops. Expect to face minigun-toting armored squads, special forces equipped with jetpacks, or even katana-wielding foes who look more machine than man. Players will also have access to new and returning weapons, including the new cryo cannon, and will be able to deliver devastating finishing moves where smashing an opponent's skull against a concrete wall or into the nearest drinks vending machine. Nacon is describing the game as both a standalone follow-up and a standalone expansion, so there is a good chance that while it is technically a sequel, it may not be as long as Rogue City. Now, do they have a price for this game? Do they have a price? I'm going to type Robocop into Steam because I have Steam open right now. Okay, well, first and foremost, they have Robocop Rogue City on sale right now for $13. $13 is a hell of a price to pay for that Robocop game. Now you got me thinking maybe I should... Okay, view cart. Your cart is empty. Go back. Go back. It's in my cart. It doesn't say that it's in my cart. I don't see that it's in my cart. Okay, Steam is acting really funny right now. I don't know. We exit Steam? Why is Steam broken? That Robocop game is $12. I mean, I have $12. What would I do with $12 that would provide more value and entertainment than that Robocop game? Okay, in cart. There's your cart. Continue to cart. PayPal account, sure. I am now the owner of Robocop Rogue City. For $12, I can do that. I can get behind that. $12 for Robocop Rogue City. Sure, why the hell not? Now I own Robocop. But the reason I was on Steam to begin with is I'm curious what Robocop, there's no price. They have not put a price on how much Robocop Rogue City Unfinished Business will be. When they announce a price and a release date, I will let you know. Last week, we were talking about Split Fiction, the new game from Hazelight Studios and EA. And Split Fiction has been a massive success. It's sold incredibly well in the first 48 hours alone. Split Fiction in 48 hours has sold over 1 million copies of the game in its first 48 hours. And, this is an original game. This is an original IP. It's not part of an existing franchise. It obviously follows, similar tropes and stylings as other Hazelight games like It Takes Two and A Way Out and Brothers, but it has sold over 1 million copies in its first 48 hours. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, we talked about it last week, but if you buy, and I don't know if this works for the disc-based version of the game, so you'll have to. I'm gonna go to Amazon and I'm gonna type in Split Fiction. So I was looking at it on Steam. I was looking at it on Steam, and when you buy the digital version of Split Fiction, you can actually give a copy to a friend so that they can play when you play with them online. So you can play the game, obviously, on the couch, cooperative, split screen. You can do all that. You can also play the game online with a friend. And when you play it online, you do not need to have the other person buy a copy of the game. You can actually gift them a copy of the game in order to play it. The only thing is that I don't know if that applies when you buy the disc version of the game or no. Oh no, it is. No, get the friend pass. Play online with friends for free. Okay, so it even says it right there in the description on this Amazon page that I'm looking at. So the good news is you do not. So in case anyone was curious, if they've never heard of Hazelight or familiar with the games, if you want to play with friends, you do not need to play. So you do not need to buy it twice in order to play it. You can buy it once, give the online pass to your friend. I'm assuming you only get one online pass to play with, so you're gonna have to choose a friend who's gonna actually commit to playing through the game with you. But yeah, so that's the nice thing is you don't need to buy it twice in order to play. So selling 1 million copies when double the amount of people are playing that game is pretty cool. BlizzCon. We're kind of snappy. We're kind of quick with the news today. Not a lot of like super deep stuff going on, but let's talk BlizzCon. BlizzCon is the convention put on by Blizzard, and that's where they go to announce new Warcraft games and Diablo and all of that stuff. And they are not doing a BlizzCon this year. Last year's BlizzCon was also canceled, but they have now confirmed that BlizzCon will be coming back on the weekend of September 12th to the 13th in 2026 at the Anaheim Convention Center. They put out a little post alongside this saying, "We've come a long way since our first event in 2005. Over the past nearly 20 years since its inception, BlizzCon has inspired us to innovate, push the boundaries of creativity, and deliver once-in-a-lifetime moments. It's important that we put on an event worthy of our community." For 2026, alongside BlizzCon staples like opening ceremony, in-depth panels, the Dark Moon Fair, friendly competition, hands-on gameplay, and more, we aim to meaningfully elevate the iconic celebration and create an unforgettable experience for all who take part in it. We're building this event just like we build our games, with deep commitment to our players, with respect for your connections to our universes, and as a celebration of the strength of the bonds formed through shared adventure. Now, they say nearly 20 years, but I just want to point something out, and I'm not picking on Blizzard necessarily. They said they've been doing it for nearly 20 years. However, they have canceled BlizzCon in 2006, 2012, 2020, I wonder why, 2021, I wonder why, 2022, I wonder why, and 2024, and now 2025. So, 2021, it held a digital-only event called BlizzCon Line, and then scrapping plans for a physical event. It then planned to hold a hybrid event in 2022, but that was also canceled. Now that was canceled following the emergence of sexual discrimination and harassment scandal at Blizzard. So BlizzCon is eventually going to come back, and hopefully BlizzCon will be good and it won't be canceled, but hopefully Blizzard gets its act together. There's a possibility that it gets its act together now that it's owned by Microsoft, but we'll see. Got an update for you on Moon Studios. Moon Studios are the developer of Ori and the Will of the Wisp and Ori and the Blind Forest. They are currently working on No Rest for the Wicked, which is out in early access. It is an action RPG out in early access, and they have announced that they are going fully independent and will finish No Rest for the Wicked without Take-Two. Take-Two had retained the rights to No Rest for the Wicked after selling off its private division label. So let's take a look here. Moon initially announced No Rest for the Wicked, its third game after Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisp, back in December of 2023, and the game was then released in Steam Early Access in April of 2024. This early access release was published by Private Division, the Take-Two label specializing in publishing games from smaller developers. When Take-Two sold Private Division in November of 2024, the buyer also purchased almost all of Private Division's existing and unreleased games. The key exception was No Rest for the Wicked, which Take-Two said wasn't part of the deal because it wanted to continue to support it. In a new announcement, however, Moon Studio says it was now fully independent, stating, "We have secured the publishing rights for No Rest for the Wicked, allowing us to execute our vision without restrictions." During one of its Wicked Insight presentations, the studio also announced that the game would be getting a major update called The Breach, which will release on April 30th and will be the game's biggest update to date. According to Moon, The Breach will expand the campaign in new areas, armors, factions, enemies, and weapons. It will also deepen the game's lore and double the size of the game world. Moon says that after the Breach update is released, it will then work on its next major update, which will add co-op for up to 4 players, as well as music from the game composed by returning Ori composer Gareth Cocker. When No West, I keep saying No West. I think this is because I have the Wild West on my brain. We'll talk about that in a moment. And when No Rest for the Wicked was announced in December 2023, the game's technology and production director, Gennady Korol, said the studio had already been working on it for 6 years. We have been dreaming of being able to contribute to the ARPG genre that we all grew up and love. After the success of Ori, it was clear to us that Moon was now mature enough to finally realize those dreams. We can't wait to see how players will react to its entirely new take on the genre. You can go play No Rest for the Wicked now. How much is that? I don't want to keep buying games while on stream. That's about $36 on Steam right now. I don't know. And it's okay. It's 30. Well, look at that. $36. $36. And that's 30% off. And this game is unfinished. It is not out. It's not complete just yet. We don't quite know when that release date will be. If I had to guess, looking at their early access thing, they don't know when this game is coming out. They don't know. They don't know when this game is coming out. Probably not before the end of 2025, but we shall see. What's left of the Disco Elysium developer Zaum have announced its next game. It is an espionage RPG titled Project C4. If you remember, Zaum has had a lot of people leave the company, a lot of infighting within the organization, so I don't really know what Zaum is anymore. You could say it is the name of the studio that made Disco Elysium. But beyond that, I really couldn't tell you what is left of it. But this is what Project C4 is being described as: a new mind-warping espionage RPG that blends player introspection, deep character-driven dialogue, and high-stakes encounters steered by dice roll. So with it being an RPG, you are rolling the dice and hoping that a little bit of luck is on your side when it comes to the choices that you are making. According to a press release, the game's world is rife with shadowy characters who help move the pieces for competing geopolitical powers in a game of concealed conflict. Players are tasked with completing a desperate assignment which could see them losing their life or, much worse, being exposed for what they really are. Players can take control of an operant who serves a questionable global power and has to take in a vicious clandestine struggle for truth and influence. Now, according to the studio, Project C4 will let players take psychoactive substances to alter their character's mind, saying players must steel themselves with whatever comfort they can in order to survive the violent canvas of the real. Now, this is the context I wanted to cover. While Zaum's most notable release was Disco Elysium, it's unlikely many of the Disco Elysium team will be getting involved with this new project, given conflict between the company and its former employees in recent years, most notably the string of explosive allegations made in late 2020 by former Disco Elysium employees and the developers and the owners of the studio that fired them. In November of 2022, Disco Elysium game director Robert Kurvitz and art director Alexander Rostov claimed that after an Estonian company acquired a majority shareholding in the company, they were quickly excluded from daily operations, their employment was terminated, and their access to company information was shut off. They then alleged that the company acquired the studio by fraud by illegally taking money from Zaum itself and using it to buy its majority stake. Zaum then responded by denying accusations of fraud and said that several employees had been dismissed due to egregious misconduct. Last year, it was reported that Zaum was laying off a quarter of its staff and canceling a standalone expansion for Disco Elysium. It was claimed that this was the studio's third cancellation after a Disco Elysium sequel and a sci-fi game. Meanwhile, back in October, two separate studios made up of former Zaum staff were announced on the same day. Longdew Games, said to be working on a spiritual successor to Disco Elysium, and Dark Math Games, which is working on Triple X Night Shift, another detective RPG. If you remember, Disco Elysium was a detective RPG. I have never finished Disco Elysium. I've only played a tiny bit of it, and I should really go back and give it another shot, but I haven't done so yet. So what do we even say about all this? What is there to say? I would say a good luck to everyone who's still working at Zaum, and a good luck to everybody that is working on follow-ups and spiritual successors to Disco Elysium. I guess that's what I would say. We got more news. We're going to keep rolling. Hideo Kojima put out a new trailer for Death Stranding 2. It is also confirmed a release date for Death Stranding 2 on the beach. That is coming out on PS5 June 26th of this year. That is soon. It's damn soon. That's coming out pretty soon. Now, Hideo Kojima, creator of the Metal Gear games, Zone of the Enders, and Death Stranding, now working on Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I don't really want to talk about Death Stranding, and I know that sounds weird. I don't really want to talk about Death Stranding. I've never played Death Stranding. Everything I've seen of Death Stranding has seemed unappealing. Death Stranding 2 seems fucking crazy, but because I never played Death Stranding 1, I don't know how much of that crazy comes from them making a sequel versus them, just continuing on with what was already established in Death Stranding 1. But I want to talk about like kind of the marketing and the rollout for games. Just hear me out here. I feel like when games get announced and shown for the first time, I'm much more engaged with the reveal of the game. So like, when they show off a game like Death Stranding for the first time at like the Game Awards show, or they reveal, hey, we're finally making a Death Stranding 2, or oh, here's the first announcement for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I feel like that's when I am the most engaged because it's just so new. It's just so like, oh, here's a game I never knew existed. Now I get to know that it exists and that it's coming out eventually and all that stuff. And I feel like after the initial wave of, the reveal of the game kind of comes and goes, then I often forget about it. And such is the case with Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I know that it's my job to talk about games and cover games and do a podcast about video games and all of that stuff. But, sometimes I forget that like Death Stranding 2 is going to come out eventually. And I think one of the reasons for that is because, it is not as impactful of a news story to be like, here's the second trailer for Death Stranding. Here's the third trailer, the final trailer. They're going to add a new character to this game that we, isn't even out yet, but you're going to be optional playable character and stuff like that. But that's why I'm sitting here saying, hey, at least, they put out a trailer and confirmed the release date for Death Stranding 2. But often I just forget about these games as they go through their marketing cycle and stuff like that. My question to you is, do you often find yourself, seeing that a game is getting released, seeing that a game's getting announced, and get on that hype train and just stay excited the entire time? Or do you, kind of wax and wane with your engagement in their advertising and marketing efforts until closer to release? Because now that we're like a week out from Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out, that's coming out on Thursday of next week, next Thursday. I find myself a little more, excited and interested to give that game a shot versus, when they showed it off at, Summer Game Fest and stuff like that. I was just like, this is not quite doing it for me. Now that like I've had a little more time to think about like what Assassin's Creed means to me, what a new game could do for my interest and engagement in the franchise, I find myself a little more excited. Am I going there and watching the latest trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadows? Am I reading every preview? No. In fact, I'm ignoring almost all of it. All I need to know is, March 20th, and that I don't have to buy it. I can get it on Ubisoft Plus Premium Extra Fun Tier, whatever they call it. And that's good enough for me. And I don't quite know where I'm necessarily going with this rant. It's just that I feel like it's so easy to get on board with the game upon reveal, upon the first time showing it off. But I feel like that's maybe the worst time to get excited for a game because so much can change between then and now. I mean, you think about, Will Ospreay from AEW coming out to an Assassin's Creed Shadow themed wrestling entrance for a game that, eventually got delayed numerous times and stuff like that. So, and that's just maybe a unique example of marketing in games, but still, I don't know what to think about Death Stranding 2 because I never played the first game. I have the first game. I got it for free as part of the Epic Game Store. Maybe I'll play Death Stranding 2 maybe I'll play Death Stranding 1 when Death Stranding 2 comes out. We'll see. Another quick news story. Lego. Let's talk Lego. Lego is starting to bring its game development in-house. Previously, Lego has worked with partners such as Fortnite, 2K, and Warner Brothers. Now, Lego is investing in making its own games. The firm behind the globally successful building kits has said it wants to start to bring its game development in-house, though it's unclear if this spells the end of Lego's collaborative efforts with other game makers. They did put out a statement saying, "We can say as long as we're under the Lego brand, we can cover experiences for kids of all ages, digital or physical. Game development in-house is something we're building up to." And that was from the Lego chief executive, as reported by the Financial Times. So, I mean, they've made so many fucking Lego games. I can't even wrap my mind around how many Lego games they've made. They made Lego 2K Drive. Apparently, they're working on a other Lego sports games, like a Lego football game. They did like 3 Lego Batman games. They did like 2 Lego Indiana Jones games. They did Lego Pirates of the Caribbean. They did multiple Lego like Marvel games. They did a Lego DC Villains game. And that's like barely scratching the surface of all the Lego games that they made. That being said, they had to do partnerships with those companies in order to get Lego Indiana Jones. But they also had to do that work in order to make a physical building set of Lego Indiana Jones. So to me, when I hear that they're doing potential game development in-house, that doesn't scream to me an end of collaborative efforts. I think it just means that they may be able to have more control over what those games are and maybe how Lego building blocks and things like that work in the game. It's hard to say, but to me, it doesn't necessarily scream, hey, we don't want 2K making Lego games anymore, but more that, hey, Lego has multiple brands and franchises that are owned by them. You think about like the Bionicle line, of which there was a Bionicle game for like PS2, I think. There are plenty of Lego building sets and kits that are not licensed brands necessarily, right? They make their own franchises within the larger Lego world. So maybe there's like, hear me out. I'm just going to pitch you a Lego game. Just hear me out. If you go look at the Lego building kits, there are a lot of Lego building kits that are you building real world structures, like the Eiffel Tower and stuff like that, right? Just hear me out. Lego Eiffel Tower. I'm looking at the Lego Eiffel Tower. I'm on the Lego Canada website. If you want to build this 10,001 piece Lego Eiffel Tower, it is going to cost you 800 Canadian dollars. Now, that's a lot of money. But hear me out. Unless they had to go do some deal with the people who own the Eiffel Tower or whatever, what's to stop Lego from, say, making a city building game, something like a Sim City or a City Skylines, where you're building out a city with Lego pieces? You don't necessarily need to make a Lego Indiana Jones game at that point, because you can branch out into other game genres and types by using stuff that is more public domain or not copyrighted. I don't know who owns the Eiffel Tower. Don't come to me like that, right? But man, wouldn't a Lego City building game be potentially so much more interested than yet another action adventure puzzle game with other franchises slapped on top of them? That's something that Lego could potentially do and retain almost all of the money if they move their development in-house. So I say more power to them. If they want to do it, why not? What's the worst that can happen? Now, we just talked about Fortnite and Lego's relationship with Fortnite. You can go play Lego Fortnite if you want to, but I want to talk Fortnite in general. If you don't know, Fortnite will sell you all sorts of costumes and character outfits and skins and all that stuff. But one of the other things that they started doing is something called Fortnite Kicks. And Fortnite Kicks are shoes, digital shoes that you can buy for your characters that will apply to all characters in the game. So if you have the Alan Wake, character skin, and you go and you buy the Nike Air Force One shoes, you could put the Air Force One shoes on Alan Wake. It's going to cost you additional money to do so, but you can. Now you might be wondering, what sort of brands can we expect from the Fortnite Kicks? Currently, there are a few dozen Nike and Adidas shoes, but the good news is Fortnite will finally let you buy and wear Crocs. That's right. For 1,000 V-Bucks, you will be able to buy digital Crocs for your characters. Finally, I can have John Cena run around in Crocs just the way I always imagined him. It's just nothing but jean shorts and Crocs as far as the eye can see. So if you want Peely the banana dressed up in Crocs, you can do that, but it is going to cost you 1,000 V-Bucks to do so. And that's it for news. That is it for news. We're going to take our only break of the show. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about the games that I've been playing. Stick around. We ain't going anywhere. All right, welcome back to the podcast. I continue to be GnittWitt, and we actually need to continue to talk about news because this is fucking news that I totally missed out on. Holy shit. Ubisoft shareholders, shareholder plots protests outside the Paris headquarters. I'm reading the fucking headline from IGN right now. Ubisoft shareholder plots protest outside Paris HQ, accuses company of failing to reveal discussions with Microsoft, EA, and others allegedly interested in acquiring IPs. A minority shareholder in Ubisoft is attempting to organize a protest outside the company's Paris headquarters, accusing it of failing to disclose alleged discussions with Microsoft, EA, and other publishers that are reportedly interested in acquiring its franchises. Holy shit. My God. In a statement seen by IGN, Juraj Krupa, CEO of AJ Investments, claimed Ubisoft is, quote, horribly mismanaged by current management. I would agree. And wants a clear roadmap for recovery from senior team to address declining shareholder value, lackluster operational execution, and failure to adapt effectively to market trends. This news story just made my goddamn head spin. Krupa alleged that Ubisoft has not been transparent about its decision-making, accusing the firm of hiding information, including an Assassin's Creed Mirage DLC partnership with Saudi investment firm Savvy Group. The shareholder also pointed to a restricted article published by business investment platform Merger Market that alleged discussions between Microsoft, EA, and others that are interested in acquiring IPs from Ubisoft. Management did not inform public about these steps either, Krupa claimed. Ubisoft issued the following statement to IGN. They said, as we mentioned during our Q3 sales, the review of various transformational, strategic, and capitalistic options is ongoing. The board has established an ad hoc independent committee to oversee this formal and competitive process so as to extract the best value from Ubisoft's assets and franchises for all stakeholders. Ubisoft will inform the market in accordance with applicable regulations if and once a transaction materializes. Now let's go all the way back. Back in October, Bloomberg reported that Ubisoft Ubisoft founders, the Guillemot family, and shareholder Tencent were in discussions to take the company private following a number of high-profile flops, game cancellation, and the collapse of the company's share price. Now, at the time, the talks were merely exploratory, and Ubisoft told IGN it would inform the market if and when appropriate. For several years now, Ubisoft has seemed to be in a strange, slow, downward spiral with a number of high-profile flops, layoffs, studio closures, game cancellations, and delay after delay after delay. Meanwhile, rumors continue to spin about what exact proposals the board is considering, with some media outlets floating the idea that Tencent is increasingly reluctant to embrace Ubisoft due to the Guillemot family's insistence on retaining a significant amount of control. Sans Tencent, there are few other companies big enough and rich enough to spend the cash needed to save the albatross Ubisoft has grown into. This is IGN's words, not mine. This is an incredible article. An incredible article. It goes on for a while. So and I'm not gonna read all of it. So just bear with me here. Quote, management postponed its current game, which could save the company and its financials, Assassin's Creed, first time on the 18th of July 2024. So they said, hey, you delayed the game July of last year. On that date, Ubisoft confirmed full year guidance for the year and release of AC Shadows on November 15th of 2024. So they said you delayed it in July and it's coming out in November. Just a couple months later, in September, Ubisoft delayed the game again and revised its guidance, which in our view was a move that could have been predicted by Ubisoft management. Now, after the third delay, the game will finally be published on March 20th, 2025. These delays and revised guidance caused severe stock declines, which harmed mostly retail investors that have limited resources to manage their positions accordingly. This action benefited mainly corporate and institutional investors who were on the buy side of distressed prices, such as Goldman Sachs clients and Morgan Stanley and things like that. Believing management did not communicate with shareholders appropriately, this is key, AJ Investments is calling on all investors who are frustrated with the prolonged stagnation in Ubisoft stock performance and the lack of decisive action from the management to join its protests in May. We are aware that Ubisoft's management and CEO have initiated a financial review of the potential strategic options advised by Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. We expect this review to yield results in the coming months. That is why we are organizing this demonstration in May, to ensure they have time to reach a conclusion that genuinely increases shareholder value. If their conclusion effectively enhances shareholder value, we will call off this demonstration. Do you know how many fucking copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows they're going to have to sell to keep AJ Investments off their back? Holy shit. Oh my God. Wow. You know, I gotta be honest. When it comes to the people who give a shit about shareholder value within Ubisoft and Tencent and stuff like that, I really could not give less of a shit if these people lose the shirts on their backs or not. It's not my money. It's not my money whatsoever. Why would I care? They probably got more money than me. Long story short, it is incredibly juicy drama to see Ubisoft shareholders and stakeholders potentially organizing protests if the company does not turn around its current trends. Man, oh man. That is some goddamn news. Holy shit. And then the final thing I was just going to mention, I forgot to mention this up at the top of the show. EA has added microtransactions to Skate. Skate is currently in its closed alpha testing. And and the game will be free to play when it comes out. You can currently spend real world money on virtual currencies in Skate to buy cosmetic items. You may get that stuff reset. So if you buy stuff and they change the store or something like that, they probably will just reset it and refund you. I can neither confirm nor deny if I'm currently playing the closed alpha version of Skate or not. I can't confirm or deny anything. And if I find out about what the microtransactions cost and what you get, I will not tell you because I can neither confirm nor deny what it is that I am playing and if that is the Skate closed alpha or not. No comments. Let's talk about games that I have been playing though. I've dropped Avowed. I uninstalled Avowed. I'm not gonna keep playing Avowed. I think that is it for me with Avowed. It's not a bad game. It's just not a game that initially grabbed me. And while it has some decent combat, decent character upgrades and accoutrement, I just think at the core of what you're doing in that game, it's not particularly something that inspires me, despite being a formula that I quite enjoyed. Like I said, it's not too different from a Fallout game. It's not too different from an Elder Scrolls game or other open world RPG games. I'm a sucker for that sort of stuff. But I think maybe it's just the storytelling, the writing, the world, the characters just didn't initially grab me. So I think I am done with Avowed. I am also done with Fallout New Vegas. We got the ending. All of our choices led up to this moment in Fallout New Vegas. And I can tell you with some spoilers that I am king of New Vegas. I have an army of robots. We took over the Vegas Strip. We pushed out the Legion. We pushed out the New California Republic. A lot of people died along the way, but New Vegas is independent. We are an independent society free from the controls of the New California Republic or Caesar's Legion, but it does mean that we have an army of killer robots trying to keep the peace. I'm about halfway done Mass Effect 2. I would say I'm about halfway done at Mass Effect 2 because I have almost all of the party members in my group. As part of the story, you are gathering up a crew of people to go on this mission. So I have most of the crew members, and I have done most of the loyalty missions for those crew members. Once you get those crew members, you will start to learn about them, talk to them, hear them out and stuff like that. And eventually, once you've earned their trust, they will say, "Hey, I know we have to go do this mission, but can we really please go do this thing that's really important to me? I'll earn your trust. I'll be fully committed to the main story, the main narrative, the main quest that we're on once we do the thing that I'm doing." So I have most of those team members already in my group. And of the team members that are in my group, I have most of those quests done. So I'm going to keep picking away at Mass Effect 2 slowly. I don't know if I will immediately jump into Mass Effect 3 the way I did with Mass Effect 2 when I finished 1. Though I am curious to eventually wrap this story up, and move on from my replay through of Mass Effect in general. So we'll see. And like I said, next week we got Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm hoping that the reviews are out in time for us to at least do a review roundup of the critical reception to Assassin's Creed Shadows on next week's show. I don't know what the embargoes are like. I don't know anybody who has review copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows or stuff like that right now. So it remains to be seen what reviews are like for that game. I'm hoping that game is good. Wouldn't that be awesome if Ubisoft put out a good video game? We shall see. But for now, last night, I don't know what came over me, but last night I just had this sick, twisted thought in my brain. I thought I should play through and complete Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So I installed the game again, loaded up my last save. I was playing as Deadshot. I believe Deadshot and King Shark. If I had to say I had a favorite character to play as in that game, it's probably either Deadshot or King Shark. Maybe I should spend more time with Harley Quinn. I don't know. Captain Boomerang, don't like. I think he's an annoying idiot of a character, and his combat maneuvers and weapons and abilities don't excite me too much. Anyways, that being said, I loaded up the game and my thought process was, well, I should probably just try to focus on the story in the game. The problem with focusing on the story in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, a game that you may remember was nominated for Worst Game of the Year during my 2024 Game of the Year award ceremony. The problem with that game is that there are so many side quests and side missions that you kind of have to do in order to progress in the main story. So I'll give you an example. And I'm just going to talk freely about the story. If you care about spoilers or anything like that, fucking, I don't know. If you care about the spoilers in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, get your life together. Smarten up. Okay? Smarten up. So I had a mission to go kill the Flash. The Flash is a member of the Justice League. I have to kill the Justice League, hence the name of the game. And the Flash has been taken over by Brainiac, so he's all evil and a bad guy. We had to go do a quest in order to develop this type of weapon technology so that we could slow down the Flash enough that our bullets could actually hit him and do damage to him during the boss fight. But once you do that mission and you get the weapon, the game's like, yeah, but you could always upgrade your weapons better. Like, do you want to go fight the Flash with the weapons that you currently have? Or do you want to do these other side missions to upgrade your weapons? So I'm like, all right, fine, fuck. I'll go do these other side quests to improve my weapons and abilities. And then I go do the boss fight. And it's like, in fairness, I'm playing it on easy because I don't want to spend a lot of time in the combat. I played through I did that boss fight, and that boss fight was like stupid easy. Now, in fairness, maybe it's because I upgraded my weapons. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But the game is like always trying to poke and prod you to do other side stuff in the environment. The problem is that Metropolis is completely fucking empty because you have a bunch of goddamn aliens running around, destroying everybody. You hardly ever see other human beings in the environment. All you see are purple and pink aliens, helicopters and drones and tanks. There's almost nothing to the city of Metropolis. It is so barren. It is so boring that I don't know why the game would actively encourage you to engage in the side content, which is often the most repeated bullshit ever. There's one side mission where there's a bunch of human beings hiding in the environment and the aliens are like coming to attack them. So what you have to do is basically shoot a bunch of aliens until your handler in your ear says, "We found the location of another human." And then you go run over to that location and you extract the human by shrinking them down so they fit in your pocket, which is dumb. It's not even funny. I don't get the gag. And then you run over to some fucking bus where you throw the human being onto the bus so you can rescue them. And then you have to spend another, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever, shooting aliens until they find the next location of the human being in this like squared area, run over to them, find the human. And the game asks you to do that. Like, I've probably done that mission at least 3 or 4 times now, and it has never not been completely fucking boring. So I made and then I did the Flash mission, the boss fight, which was the main story mission. And then I'm watching this cutscene, and these cutscenes are way too long for how awful the story is. Like, I guess that's the thing for me is like, oh, what if the good guys were bad guys? I think is just fucking boring. I just think it's such a cynical and gross interpretation of the Justice League. I know the idea of like, oh, we could flip these heroes on their heads and do all this stuff. I think it just sucks. I think it stinks. I think it's gross. So to hear like Deadshot, like just trade, like verbal jabs back and forth with evil Green Lantern, I'm just like, this fucking stinks. And then you defeat the Flash, and then Captain Boomerang is like, I prepared a speech, and it's like incredibly long because I think that'd be funny. And I'm like, fucking shut up, game. So between a game whose story feels almost as incredibly tedious as the rest of it, I thought last night that I was going to beat Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League on my own time. And then within the span of playing it for about an hour-ish, I was like, I'm going to uninstall this, and I'm probably going to never touch this game ever again. So that's what I did. With that said, I got a bunch of other games downloaded and installed that I might mess around with, I might play with. I mean, I did just literally buy Robocop Rogue City during the recording of this download, so I guess I could play that if I wanted to. What else do I got that I could play? Just loading shit up here on my computer here. Seeing what else I got. I was thinking maybe of playing some like strategy games. I thought maybe I should become kind of a thinking man's game player and maybe check out a couple of strategy games. I downloaded Aliens Dark Descent, which is not quite a strategy game because it is real time. You're moving your squad through this environment in real time. It's not like it's a turn-based game. And so that's more of maybe a tactical action game. So maybe I would mess around with Aliens Dark Descent. I also downloaded the Lamplighters League, which is a turn-based game. Gears Tactics, a turn-based game. I also downloaded that. I downloaded Encased. I downloaded Bear and Breakfast. I just downloaded like a bunch of shit to my computer. I was just like, I don't know, fuck it, man. I don't know. Let's download Hard West 2 and see if that game is any good or not. I don't know. So I just downloaded a bunch of shit that I had, kicking around on my computer that I may or may not go back to at some point in time. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I might just pick out a couple of games and mess around with a couple of games and see how they are. And maybe I'll get back to you next week and say, hey, this game is awesome, or this game is not, or whatever the case may be, right? Like I'm just messing around, throwing shit at the wall, seeing what sticks, especially now that I'm definitely not going to play through all of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Regardless, that is going to do it for the show. I have been GnittWitt. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree, linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. That's Instagram, that's Threads, that is TikTok, that is YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff in one convenient location. That is going to do it for Glitch Report. We will see you all again next week, hopefully with some good news about Assassin's Creed Shadows being a good game, but we'll see. Until then, take it easy.